Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of MD Power Hour, starring Lolo, me, Ron Harris, and from United Kingdom, Sir Giles Tiger Thomas III. It's now you're the third.
Ron, I'm feeling really angry because I've been listening to the new Slipknot album all day.
You have a new album?
Well, I'm late to the party. It's a 2019 album, but I haven't been on iTunes in so long, and I downloaded a new Metallica S&M 2, with the orchestra. I didn't realize they'd done another one 20 years later, which is fantastic. And I downloaded We Are Not Your Kind, and I'm just obsessed with it. So I'll be listening on the treadmill, and it kind of really brings out, it's fantastic to train on as well.
What's the best training song on it for metalheads?
Unsainted.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that was a newer song, because I listen to all this stuff all the time, but I don't keep track of when. I didn't even realize that was one of their newer songs, but yeah.
It's good love-making music, too. And the tracks at 3-4 minutes, they're just the right amount of time as well.
I only need 30 seconds, but here we go. So I asked you to come up with the topics this time because we've just done recaps and predictions, but we got some great things to talk about. And the first thing that you came up with, very, very relevant, the Arnold Classic lineup. This list just came out Friday, and there was some great names on for sure. So I'm going to run through. This is who we had. Originally, the list was Sean Clarita, Samson Dowda, William Bonac, Akim William, Blessing Awodibu, Charles Griffin, Justin Rodriguez, and Kamal El Gargni. Charles Griffin immediately posted, "Sorry, there's been some misunderstanding. I'm not competing in the Arnold. I need a break, this and that." And then just 3 days ago, Blessing Awodibu, he posted, "No, guys, I'm not doing the Arnold. I need to take some time off, reset, make some improvements." But then I believe it was you who told me, Neil Curry from UK, who was on the list for Classic, and he's been saying, I need to move to Open, I need to move to Open. He's going to do Open at this show. Is that correct?
That's correct. But what a great move for Neil, because when I last messaged him and he said, I'm just emailed them to say that I want to do Open. Because thing is, if you've got an invite, I mean, it's not like if he was going Open now and he tried to get the invite, they wouldn't. I mean, let's be honest, they wouldn't have him because he's not a big name. Yes, he won the New York Pro in the Classic, but because he was already invited as a Classic, he can now, the likelihood of him being able to jump in the Open, especially all these guys dropping out, is really good. So it doesn't really matter where he places. All that matters is that he shows up looking fantastic, and that's going to raise his stock, isn't it? Here's a guy who didn't make top 15 at the Olympia. Like I said, New York Pro, very good bodybuilder. The thing is, for that many eyes to see him in a show that big with so few competitors, it's a fantastic move for him. So all he has to do is look good, and he's a winner. Do you know what I mean? Because it's going to take him to another level. Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes that's why I would say, the problem with this Arnold lineup is it's only 3 months after the Olympia.
Not even 10 weeks.
Oh my God! See, 10 weeks. I mean, I kind of see, but you know what they should have done? They should have just invited more guys. I mean, what?
Well, you want top names. You don't want to invite. This is the Arnold Classic. It's supposed to be the second biggest show in the sport, but it's supposed to be on par with the Olympia. Many, many Arnold Classic champions are also Olympia champions. So we do have some great names in there, but I think it would have diluted the quality if they started going down. And I'm not going to mention one name, so don't get on my nerves, people. There are guys that if they were on that list, it would bolster the list in terms of numbers, but would it really make the lineup a better, higher quality lineup? I mean, guys that haven't been able to make top 5 at a top and a tier 1 show, I don't think so.
Yeah, but Ron, you would have known that it was just right after the Olympia. I mean, one like someone like Jamie the Giant, I mean, he might not make, he would look good up there. He would create a stir. He would be a talking point. Why not invite someone like that? Give him a chance. Give someone like that a chance. What about a Mark Hector or but the problem is, like I said, a lot with it being so close up to the Olympia, a lot of these guys have been on prep. They don't want to do it. And the thing is, there were so many shows last year. I mean, it's a real shame. I don't want to be too negative about this Arnold Classic, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be a single call out prejudging. I mean, the prejudge is going to be 15 minutes. Yeah. And I can't get excited about that.
I agree. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I had been in communication this morning. We're talking on Thursday, January 12th. And he said, we are talking to a couple big name guys. There might be a couple more big names in the show. he would not give me any further details, but who would you like? I mean, I know you'd love this. Top 2 names I'd like to see, and you can give me your top 2. Obviously, Derek Lunsford. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. I'd like to see Nick Walker jump in this because he missed last year's Arnold Classic that he supposedly wanted to do because he had won it in October. And then Matt Jansen's coach supposedly advised him, no, it's too soon, because then he did the Olympia, felt it was too soon, didn't want him doing it, whatever. And then he stopped working with Matt for a series of months. But I feel like Nick missed out on that opportunity last year. I don't know if he would have beat, Brandon Curry and William Bonac anyway. But in this lineup, he's got a great chance because he was 3rd place in the Olympia. I don't know if he's already beaten most of these people just at the last Olympia. I think he'd have a fairly, not to say easy, but it's $200,000. I mean, that's not a tiny paycheck. $200,000. You only have to beat 6-7 guys most of whom you've already beaten.
You haven't watched the Kamal interview yet. You said you've only watched Sean Clarita and Global Muscle, which came out yesterday.
Yes, that's right.
Obviously didn't hear what Kamal said about, because he's training with Derek Lunsford.
Well, that's right. I forgot to mention, MD Global Muscle, you had both the 212 Olympia champions, Sean Clarita and Kamal El Gargni. And I know there's some revelations in the Kamal one. I mean, it's no surprise to anyone who's already seen it. I don't know if you want to be the spoiler alert and tell me what he says here, but... yeah,
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say, well, the first thing is he's not doing 212 anymore.
Wow.
Which I think is a really good move, because at the Olympia, I think when he comes down to 212, he lost that sweep on his legs, because they always say that, guys who have to either get down into a weight class or in amateur or pro, like 212 or a weight cap with classic, they always say when you drop down, it comes off your kind of worst body part. And I'm not saying that that's his worst body part, but that's the body part it seems to come off on him. Because I like you said, when guys get over 40, they say that you lose the sweep on your legs. Is it sarcopenia it's called?
Yeah.
So, but when he turned up as an open at 220 at Tampa last year, I couldn't believe that the legs were back. I was like, how has he done this? But it's just because there was no weight cap. And obviously, 8 pound off that, it's going to come off somewhere. Like I thought his chest, like in his side tricep, wasn't quite as full as when he was an open or when he wasn't struggling to make 212. Because I spoke to him in the interview and I said, hang on, Kamal. I said, when you came 3rd to Flex Lewis in 2018, you told me, because I've obviously, I've known him years, I've followed his career, said you were 205. When he won the Olympia, he said he was just over a kilo heavier. So that would have taken up to 208. And then now he said, I'm ready. I was ready a week out at 220. He said, I'm ready to go. And the thing is, we know he was, because that's exactly what he was at Tampa. So I think this move is really, really good for him, because you want to see, if he's only got a few years left, we want to see the best version of Kamal El Gargni ever. And we will see that as an open. And like I said, it was debatable between him and Aki, wasn't it? Tampa.
I could have given it to Kamal for sure.
Yeah.
So,
so obviously he said, that's why I want to go open. And he says, the thing is, he's like, why do you want to put that pressure on yourself? Do you know what I mean? And he wasn't happy with his 3rd place. Like I said in the wrap up, with you, me, and Jose and Milos, and I said, is Angel Calderon going to get second here? I said, because the way the judges are moving it, I've got a funny feeling, and you said no, but I could tell by the way the judges are moving it.
Yeah, it was close. I wouldn't have been. I didn't look at the score sheet, but I bet it was pretty close between Angel and Kamal. Neither one of them don't. Kamal has qualities that Angel doesn't have. I think Angel just got him on sheer width, mass, quad sweep. He's just a massive guy. Kamal was not out conditioned. He was certainly had a better presentation. He's but I am happy to see that, because this guy is 52 years old right now.
52. But you know what I was thinking about? I know we had to use Dexter as a reference for someone that can still compete, not just successfully, but still make kind of improvements. Because I don't know whether Dexter really made massive improvements in his 50s like Kamal has in terms of body weight or size, but he certainly held on to that. But don't forget my old boss and training partner, John Citrone. This guy was competing with Arnold in the late 60s. I trained with him for 2001, 2002, and he was one of the reasons why I turned up so shredded for my first show, because I was training with him, and the guy was shredded all year round. But my point is, he looked his best ever when he was 58.
Wow.
if he'd have been put in the overall of the 1998 Mr. Universe, I'm telling you, I was there, he'd have won the overall.
Wow.
And this is a guy that did over 40s in Thessaloniki, the one that Kamal won in 2002 in Greece. I was there as well, when he was nearly 60.
Wow.
I think he was 60. Hang on, 2002, 22. He would have been 2000. Yeah, he would have been. Yeah, I'll have to work out the age because I think he would have been around about 60. And I mean, he said, I don't want to go in the over 50s because it's no competition. But anyway, the point is, these guys, Kamal realistically, and also I want to talk about how he announced that he is going to do the Masters Olympia as an open.
Nice.
Because that was the first time when I first spoke to Jake at the Romania show about the Masters Olympia. Because Jake said, he says, what do you think, guys? It was me, I think Billy Garnon and Jonathan Morio, the photographer. And he said, guys, what do you think? He says, me and Alina he says, I think it should be over 45 across all divisions,
right,
all 10 divisions. And he says, Alina wants the best quality competitors. So she's saying over 40. What do you think, guys? And now obviously they've come to the conclusion that some are over 45, some are over 40. And I think that's obviously where they reached that compromise. But I think that's smart. But realistically, like I said in the last episode, who is there over 45 right now that could come back or should come back that could even give Kamal any competition at, say, 220 at his best?
Lee Proust.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
He just tore his bicep.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, then never mind. Because I was thinking, why wouldn't Kamal just come back? If he's doing the Masters, why wouldn't he do 212? Because who is out there that could possibly beat him? Anybody I can think of, he's beaten them, the last several times they've faced off. I think Lee's the only one he hasn't ever competed against, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But if you say Lee just tore his bicep?
I think so. Yeah, I saw it in his because he on Facebook. Yeah, he said he tore his bicep doing it. I mean, I don't know whether. I mean, like Snake Yasha tore both his biceps, and then if you get the right surgery, they look. If you get the right surgery, I remember Vince Taylor tore his bicep. You'd never be able to tell.
Oh yeah, you just lose a little time. That's it. You lose some training time.
But you know that Kamal's doing open, not 212.
Right, but I'm saying why wouldn't I don't know who else is doing open, but if he wants to win the Olympia, I would do 212 because who's going to beat him?
He's not going to do it. He's not. He said on the. Go watch the episode. He said.
No, I believe you, but would you rather take, I don't know, let's say 3rd, 4th, 5th place in the Open Masters Olympia versus winning the 212 Olympia? Masters?
I'll ask you again. Who would beat Kamal in the Open Olympia that is over 45? Tell me. Throw me some names.
Phil's
give me 10 names. Remember, Mayor said.
I cannot give you 10 names. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. We're gonna be very curious to see who's in that contest. Period. Which we're not gonna know till April. But yeah, you got a good point there. I mean, 45 years old. There's not a lot of the people I can think of like Dexter. No, he has no interest.
No,
Dexter's not coming back.
Jake said he'd only do it for $1 million, so that's not happening.
Yeah,
I think it's. Don't forget, even if Jay did come back, he hasn't competed since 2013. So. He might come back and not look very good. Let's be honest.
Oh, I don't.
You know what I mean?
Even the last time James competed.
But Kamal hasn't missed a beat. He's carried on competing, carried on proving. He hasn't stopped. So even to say Dexter did come back, would he come back and even look good? I mean, there's a lot to be said for the guys that are, they've not lost. He's not only has Kamal not lost any momentum, but he hasn't stopped. That's why. I mean, Phil Clayhar's a possibility. He's good, but is he really going to beat Kamal?
Probably not. So, but let me ask you this. Look at this Arnold lineup. We got to go back to the main topic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Would have been a tangent there.
Yeah, you do that. So who do you see? Because I see the top 3, the favorites. Well, we got Kamal in there too. So Clarita and Kamal, obviously very, very strong track records, Olympia champions. We got Bonek, who's won it twice. He's been Mr. Olympia runner-up. And Samson, 390 pounds, big dude, great shape. Who's your favorite out of those 4? If you had to commit to one favorite out of those 4 names.
I know everyone's saying Bonek and Clarita, and I accept that because obviously they are fantastic and they are front runners. But I just think it's a mistake to write Bonek off. I really do. He was 2nd place last year. Should have won it last year. He won it twice before, and I think, like you said, I can't stand this. You're only as good as your last show. Bullshit. Because, people have really short memories. And I know there was a gazillion shows last year, and sometimes I can't remember. who placed in an Italy show 6 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean? Or 10 weeks ago, say, for example, like when we'd be doing stuff like this in the previews, because there's so much data and so many placings going on and so many divisions. But I think Bonac, I don't, because Bonac at 2 weeks out was looking sensational. And I mean, his chest and back were full and popping. And at the Olympia, they were just flat, deflated. He just, you could see it in his body language. But, so obviously whatever him and Chad did, they will not make that same mistake twice. And I don't believe this is a decline. So I think for me, it has to be Bonac, because I think if he brings anything like he did in Boston, I mean, don't forget, he won Boston last year and Samson was fourth.
Right.
And I know Samson has improved, but, and also, like I said, I'm really worried that Samson's going to burn out. I mean, like I said, I've got to offer the devil's advocate kind of, opposite response here, because I'm a huge Samson fan. I'm a friend of his. I love the guy. And I think sometimes, he's gone from 270 and 280, 294. And I just think, really, can he keep the wheels turning? Is he still fresh, or is he going to come in worse, or is he going to come in off? I mean, if he comes in on, yes, of course he could win this. Yeah. But if he doesn't, like I said, I think that's likely going to be the top three. I think Kamal will, be in there as well, like knocking on sort of fourth place, But if some of the other guys slip, like if Samson or someone like that slips, or even Bonac, Kamal could jump ahead of these two. I mean, somebody said on the comments, said Kamal and Sean could be 1 and 2. I mean, that could happen.
Oh, absolutely. So let's move on to the next topic, which is very, very much related. Oh, you got one more point?
No, sorry, go on. Carry on.
No, well, your next topic was what would it mean for the 212 division if Sean Clarita wins the Arnold Classic? Because there's been rumblings for a couple of years now, and much more so after Sean won that Legion Sports. Why do we need a 212 division? If this last Olympia really sealed the deal. Derek Lunsford puts on, he's not 212 anymore. But this is a former 212 guy. Bonac, a former 212 guy. Hadi Choopan, Mr. Olympia right now, former 212 champ. So if the best 212s are good enough to win Mr. Olympia and second Olympia, and if they're that good, why do we need a separate division for lighter weight if the best bodybuilders in the end all end up rise to the top anyway?
Do you think it's a good, like if Sean Clarita wins the Open Arnold Classic, do you think it's good or bad for the 212?
Bad.
Why?
Bad. It's going to cement again in people's minds that if you're good, you're good. The weight shouldn't matter. Why do we need to have a separate division just for guys who are lighter or shorter? If bodybuilding is supposed to be out judging the physique at the pro level, like in the old days, we used to have the Mr. Olympia lineup, you'd have guys who were 5'2", guys who were 6'2", 160 pounds, 260 pounds. It didn't matter. The judges sorted them out, compared them all to each other, and the best people won regardless. And you did have shorter, lighter guys winning and being, Momo Benaziza beating Dorian Yates at their first pro show. Lee Haney back in the day lost in his first pro season every time to, what was his name?
Makawe.
Makawe. So
Great.
It would make a good case for those people's argument that we don't need a 212 division if the best bodybuilders will always rise to the top regardless of their stature or their body weight.
Where's the incentive for the pro league or the promoters say to increase the prize money of the 212 if all the 212, the top 5 212, say as an example, are all going off doing open shows, making more prize money? Where's the incentive for them to increase it?
There never was any incentive. Why? Prize money is, I think people get this twisted in their heads. Like, it's a business. It's not about trying to pay the athletes as much as we would like to think in our hearts of hearts. It's a noble cause, and this is all about trying to get these guys paid. It's not. It's a business, and yeah, they do want to reward the athletes, and they do want them to get a fair reward for their hard work. But it's not. I don't think it's always about I don't think the promoters sit around like, how can we get the prize money up? How can we pay these guys more money? That's not really their priority, and nor should it be. But the 212 division, it's like Classic. Why is Classic at the Olympia? Bumstead was the most popular man of that weekend. Is there any argument about that?
What can you run?
Yeah, that's true. But he got $50,000, I believe, for winning the Classic. Is that right? Where Hadi Choopan got $400,000, 8 times more money. Does that make any sense? Not really, because I understand Mr. Olympia is still the main draw, but Classic Physique, to say that it's 1/8 as popular, it doesn't really add up. So I don't know where I was going with that, but the prize money situation, I don't think it would help the cause for 212 and trying to advance their status and their prize money if Clarita wins this too.
So tell me what your gut tells you. What is the main reason why so many 212 guys are now jumping ship?
Prestige. I think it's just prestige. They want to be considered the best. And to be the best, you have to compete against the best, which is unlimited, no weight caps. It's like, would you compete in Open or Masters? Would you want to be the best over 40 bodybuilder in a contest, or would you want to be the best overall bodybuilder? It's a whole other level. There's no limits on it.
So going back to something I just thought there, going back to Kamal and Clarita, don't forget Sean Clarita is going to bring pretty much similar to what he brought at the Olympia, because he doesn't have to struggle to make 212. He doesn't have to lose anything to get under 212. Kamal is going to be better than he was at the Olympia because he's not 212. He's going to be 220, and he's going to be fuller. Things are going to be popping. The sweep on the legs, the chest is going to be full. He's going to, because he does. I mean, you can't argue it. You've got to see the pictures of Tampa. You were there. Were you there? Yeah. Does he look better at 220 than he does in 212 or worse?
He looks better, but I don't know if that better is good enough to beat Sean Clarita. I don't.
Well, it's certainly going to be different to what it was at the Olympia. It's not going to be the same version of each guy's, because Sean Clarita is probably going to look as good. I don't see how he can get much better in like 10 weeks. He's going to be cruising, whereas Kamal is going to bring something different. So, and we've never seen the Open Kamal next to the 212 or the whatever version of Clarita.
Yeah. Just getting back to the 212, the validity of the need for the division. The one point that I want to make is that these guys like Kamal and Clarita, they're very rare. The Angel, Calderon, the ones who can do that well in the Open, they're very rare. There's still a ton of guys who are 212 pros who would not fare very well in the Open for whatever reasons. Maybe they're not that great. They're not at that level of a Clarita or a Kamal or an Angel Calderon. So for these guys, if you took that division away, I think a lot of them would stop competing. They'd see that it was pointless for them to try to go up against the Mr. Olympia guys and that caliber. So for that's who would really lose out, is a lot of the 212 competitors.
I think it's different for the guys. I think, guys jumping ship, say like Derek Lunsford or Tony O'Burton, guys like that. Kamal, they're doing it because they don't want to make 212 because they can't. Right. They can't make 212. They struggle, So it really questions why Clarita at 178 is going to try and jump in and open. Because imagine what will happen if he wins this Arnold Classic. I mean, does it devalue anything, or does it add prestige? Does it sort of say, okay, well, there's no point to the 212, there's no point, or does it mean the Arnold Classic is a lesser show than it is or does it show how great these guys are, how great someone like the 212 Olympic champion really is when he's next to the other guys and you're judged fairly?
Well, you know what? What could have solved this whole argument, which wasn't allowed to happen, and I agree with it, is if Sean had been allowed to do both the 212 and the Open at this Olympia, we would have had a good answer. How would he have really fared at 178 pounds, next to these monsters? And obviously, Hadi and Derek were both closer to body weight than someone like a Rami, but still, it would have given us a good answer. If Sean Clarita had been able to be top 6, top 7, that's a strong argument. But and then we have Hadi and Derek. A strong argument that the 212 champions, the best 212 guys, they're as good as anybody, and maybe we don't need a 212. But I
saw a comment, and you said you thought he'd have been 7.
Yeah, I think that's about right. That's about right. Yeah. Sorry, Sean.
No. I mean, I think if he'd have made top 10 in that Olympia, I don't think he would have I think it's right. I think he should have only been allowed to do 1. But, I really think it's like I said to Sean in the interview, you've seen that one. I said, because I remember I wrote the article in MD and I was pulling from all these different sources. And I mean, there's 5 or 6 times in his career where he's been told he couldn't do something because it was obvious, because of your height, because of this, because of that. There's no point competing. There's no point turning pro. You'll never win a pro show. They would have laughed at him if he said they won the Olympia. If you're doing an Open show, you're crazy, which I thought he was when he did Legion. I thought he was absolutely insane. I thought he was reacting because he was angry that he'd lost to Derek Lunsford. But, every step of the way, because I love being proved wrong, I mean, Ron Harris and Ron Thomas, do you know what I mean? I like it because it makes it, just shows you just how, the power of the mind and these guys, because I think it's really ballsy. I mean, imagine if you just won the Olympia title back, the 212 Olympia title, and he's going, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go and do the Arnold Classic and the Open. And I mean, imagine if he wins, it will probably make what otherwise might have been a bit of a lackluster Arnold Classic. It will certainly get people talking. I mean, we'll have plenty to talk about on our Power Hour.
Yeah.
But also, to forget, I'm really shocked Brandon Curry didn't do this.
Yeah, because I mean, he missed his peak. That wasn't. He just needed. It was a conditioning issue. It wasn't, as far as I could tell, anything else that was to blame for. Yep. He didn't slip that far down. It's not like he was 10th place or anything. Like a lot of people were predicting he was going to have a hard time making top 6. Come on. they were. A lot of people were writing him off completely. When he could have sharpened up. He won this. Let's see, who would he have a hard time beating, really? If he was...
I mean, imagine him. I mean, what was he supposed to be? I forgot the body weight that Abdullah told me he was or whatever, and he was 15, 18 pounds heavy. I mean, he needs to get 8 to 10 pounds off what he brought to Olympia. And I mean, really, if he came into the Arnold Classic and just cruised in, I mean, would anyone beat him?
He's beaten all these people, obviously. He was Mr. Olympia. I mean...
He was often got 4th.
He was often... So the only one who would have a really good chance on paper is Bonac, because Bonac almost beat him at the last Arnold.
There you go.
Oh,
That there's a big if there, because it was the Olympia a slide like we thought before of Bonac, or was it just a one-off where they tried something and they brought him down too far and he flattened out? And, because I mean, I wasn't expecting that version of Bonac stuff at the Olympia. Like I said all year, I think he's going to be first or second at the Olympia. And when he got there, it was clear that was not going to happen, because he wasn't like he was at Boston or the Arnold. I mean, it was just it wasn't the same physique. And like he saw at the evening finals, and he just looked miserable. I mean, he didn't smile once. And normally he's a real, it's the Olympia. You'd at least feel the buzz, but you could see he just knew that he just knew it. He just knew it. He must have looked in the mirror or maybe just flat backstage and just nothing was popping on about. He just thought, oh, shit.
Yeah. But he'll turn it around. I have full faith that he's going to look like the William Bonac that we know and love. He'll be back on stage in Columbus, Ohio for sure. I do. And I'm hoping for that as well, because, I love Bonac, and he's just, and I mean, people forget how sometimes good these guys are. And like, go watch the Boston Pro live stream clips or have a look at the photos. I mean, I sent one to the guy who runs my gym, and he was saying that, and he says, Bonac, and I says, yeah, you don't forget how good this guy is. So I took a screenshot of a readable bicep from Boston, and he went, holy shit. He was like, wow, and I said, wait, that was only like 9 months ago, so don't write the guy off. Like you said, bodybuilding fans have very short memories. One bad showing and people are like, you suck. All these guys that didn't make top 15th Olympia, I saw so many posts about this guy should hang it up. Blessing sucks, Hollingshead sucks. One show, guys. It was one show. So to write people off based on one show is just...
I mean, take someone like James Hollingshead and like Blessing. I mean, don't forget, these guys are only, what, 32?
Yeah, they're all young.
They're only 30. They're not like at the end of their career. They're just really just getting started. I mean, Blessing turned pro in 2017, the same as Samson. Yeah. But, and he's had big wins. Don't write the guy off, because he said, he was traveling or something in the side. I know it's bullshit. But he was traveling in the summer and he was off gear and everything. And he said he wasn't training properly, and then he tried to catch up to the Olympia and it just didn't happen. And, but you can't write these guys off, because, he'll turn up and probably to the next show and look absolutely sensational, and we'll all be raving about him again, So I do, but I mean, I remember the hatred towards Jay Cutler back in 2007, 2008. And then all of a sudden, he came back in 2009 and did what he did and did the stomp, and everyone was like, Jay Cutler's a god, he's amazing. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay.
See, they'll turn their back on you, but then they'll jump right back in your lap when things go well. So,
tigers don't forget, mate. We're like elephants.
So let's move on to your next topic was about the Masters Olympia.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time thinking of people. Your suggestion was who could and should do it. I feel like a lot of the guys who would probably do very well have no interest in it anymore. They've moved on. Like Dexter. Dexter would be my top pick for this, for sure. Even someone like, gosh, I mean, who's that good that's competed recently that's over 45?
Yeah. I mean, were you at the Masters Olympia in 2012?
I've never been to a Masters Olympia.
I was. That was the one because I had a meeting with Ronnie.
Okay.
So I tied it in, met my friend there, and we had a nice time in Miami. And that was Dexter. But Dexter was on a roll. I mean, actually, Dexter got 5th at the Arnold Classic that year, and I thought he was starting to slide, and his stomach was hanging out, and I was like, oh, he's done. And then he come back and looked probably one of the best he's ever looked at the Masters Olympia. We had Dennis James coming back, who told me he only did it on an 8-week prep. He got 3rd. Tony Freeman was 2nd, and then you had guys like Roland Sherlock, who were unrecognizable but in good condition. Guys like Tricky Jackson. Was a few anyways, but there was basically a mixture of current guys who just basically took up the first few placings, and then it was guys making comebacks. And I mean, I'll be honest, the only comeback I can ever think of anyone that's actually come back better was Lou Ferrigno. 17 years. He was 25 and he came back at 42 in 1992. And but that's the only guy I can think of that's come back and actually looked as good. So, and it's like I mean. Sorry, go on. Well, who do you think then? Who do you think could come back that could potentially... Because don't forget, they're giving out a lot of pro cards for the Masters guys. So you're going to get a real influx now of talent, of guys that maybe were ready to hang it up, who are going to keep going. And like an unknown might come in and win this.
That's true. But, I sort of keep one eye on who's turning pro in Masters because that's mine. Yeah. I'm old. And I don't see anybody that I would... I see turning pro like, man, if they had a Masters Olympia, this guy would crush it. I haven't seen anybody like that in years. It's a lot of guys turning pro now who, if you have awesome genetics, you probably turned pro in your 20s or 30s a long time ago. It's a lot of guys who are older and maybe they got into it older or they just never quit competing, and they're not the genetic elite. They're very good compared to the average guy in the gym, but put them compared to someone like we're talking about a Dexter or a Vince Taylor or something like, they're not at that level of genetic gifts. So I don't see any of these unknown guys, although I could be wrong. Like there could be someone out there that I'm not even aware of, like these classic guys that pop up all the time that are just incredible. So who knows? But, someone like a Vince Taylor, I think Vince is like 65 years old now.
Yeah.
He still looks fantastic, but I wonder.
No, he looks good in the gym, but he ain't going to compete, is he? I mean, he made don't forget, he made a couple of comebacks. Remember he made 2006? He made the comeback and looked the best he'd ever looked. Francis Benfato did the same. Gary Stridham did the same. But that was 16 years ago, 17 years ago. It's a big difference between being 45 and 65,
That's I'm thinking, all these names, like even like a Marcus Rule. What would Marcus Rule look? He's not even that old, Marcus. He's not as old.
He's all torn up.
Is he all torn up? I mean, who do you think could come back that might possibly come back? Because we know like there's certain people have no interest. They're done. Like Cutler's never coming back. I mean, I
worth 30 million. He ain't going to come back for $30,000, is he?
I'd love to see Kai Green come back. Kai Green would be amazing to see come back.
I'd imagine he's had a phone call.
I would hope so. I mean, even if, let's say he's not as great as he was years back, because his heyday was about 10, 15 years ago. That was when he was in his prime, winning shows, second to Phil Heath, 3 years in a row. But he looked very good at the 2016 Arnold Classic, mind. I mean, I think that was amongst his... I mean, I preferred the 2009 look when he was a bit smaller. When he came back in 2010, he won the Arnold Classic and he just beat Phil, which was debatable. Yeah. I thought like his physique had already... He started to look he lost his shape. I mean, the 2009 Australian Grand Prix, I think, was the best Kai Green I've ever seen. But he did look very good in 2016. But like I said, this is 7 years on. The thing is, he hasn't stopped training. He hasn't done a Lavroni, He hasn't sort of like come down and looking like me, It's just he's still carried on training, So I kind of that's not out of the question. But yeah. And I mean, he chased the Mr. Olympia title for years, fell short. To be runner-up 3 years in a row, I mean, if he comes back, I can't think of anyone. If let's say he's 85% of what he was back then in 2016, who's beating her? Who's beating her?
I don't know. Like I said, I stopped drinking the Kai Green food years ago. I stopped all that because well, maybe I'll just keep my opinions to myself because I don't want to. I'm already pegged as an Andrew Jack hater. I don't want to be called a Kai Green hater because I would love to see him come back. Do you know what I mean? But I tell you, the one guy who a lot of people aren't. I mean, Ruli Winkler. He's 46, 47. I mean, I know he was at the Olympia. He was really downsized. He had his arm in a sling and he's had surgery. Maybe that does mean he's done. But it was only last year that he was, 2021 that he was competing. And I know he started to slip towards the end of the season because he was doing. I saw a video of him doing a 20,000 calorie eating challenge. And I'm thinking, you're on prep, mate. I mean, that's a hell of a freaking cheat day. And then up he could get top 10 of the Olympia, but he was still big. Do you know what I mean? So there's a guy that could give, potentially if he turned up and he just brought the condition, there's a guy that could do it. Phil, like I said, Phil Plehar, I think he's over 45. You got guys like Phil Heath are 42. Bonac and Brandon are like 41, 42. They're quite not. And the thing is, Phil wouldn't come back for 50 grand. He wouldn't do it.
No, and he's not old enough anyway. So,
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see when the list comes out because Instagram right now is flooded with Masters pros who are applying for it and they hope for it. But, we don't know who they're, Alina Popa and Jake. Like I said, they want the best people on the show. If 100 people apply to be in the 212 Olympia, they're not going to have 100 guys on stage, obviously. They're going to limit it to maybe 10, 15 in the lineup.
15. They're limited to 15, yeah. And like you told me, he said they have to basically apply and then we consider it and we choose the best 15 because we want the best of the best, but we don't want too many people. But also just quickly, I don't see how the over 40s bikini thing's going to work. I think that should be over 35 because the bikini only started in 2010. And what were those girls? Probably early 20s, So they're going to be probably mid-30s, and there's a big difference between a woman's body and mid-30s. And I had an argument with Laura about this. I said, not sure that many people want to see an over 40s bikini because, the bodies do look different. I'm sorry, but if that gets me any shit, but I think 35, we could just about do it.
Well, I mean, wellness just started. It just started.
Yeah.
We've only had two pro seasons for wellness, and now you're going to have over 40 Wellness Olympia?
I tell you what, though, you'd be surprised at how many of the wellness girls are over 40.
Really?
Yeah. No names.
They're well kept. And the other division that I'm kind of skeptical about is classic physique, because that's a young man's division. I know there's plenty of guys who are over 40, but they're not the guys that are winning anything. The only guy over 40, the only two I can think of that are really at that level are Breon Ansley, who's two-time champ, and the first champ, Danny Hester, who's my age, 53, or might just turn 54. But I mean, there's not a lot of guys who are over 40 who could really bring an Olympia caliber physique. Don't get me wrong; they look amazing on their own and in smaller shows. Maybe they have a chance, but I don't know. But to put those guys in the Olympia stage, I understand what they're doing, and I understand they want to honor and give respect to all the divisions. Yeah. Instead of just saying, it's only going to be for the open men and the open women and this and that. So they're doing the right thing politically and making all the. They're not alienating any division, so that's a good thing.
What I think they'll do is I think you'll get guys who open or 212 sucking it down to classic and then jumping in this. I don't think you're going to get over 40 classic guys doing this. I think it's going to be people moving down from other divisions who just, pros that have maybe been retired a couple of years but still train that just think, I can only have to be 215 instead of the 250 I was. And they'll bring something respectable and just bring something. Maybe they were like an aesthetic open guy that wasn't really big enough to do well as open, that will just suck it down 20 pounds and go on a very, very small cycle and jump on stage. I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be guys crossing over.
You just reminded me, that's what Darren Charles did when Classic started. He won a few Classic shows, I believe.
There you go. And also, Breon Ainsley, I don't think he'll do Classic. I think he'll do 212 in this.
Yeah.
That's 45. That's 45, isn't it?
Yeah. He's not.
Classic 40.
He's not 45, though. He's not old enough to do 212.
Classic is over 40.
Right. He can do Classic.
Yeah, because there's some categories that are over 45 and some are over 40. So
there's only three that are over 45. It's men's and women's open bodybuilding and 212 bodybuilding. Everything else is 40.
There are plenty of female bodybuilders because, a lot of them, like Irene Anderson and Hella, they're all over 40. The thing is, the women, for some reason, actually get better when they get over 40. So that one's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, I've often said it's almost like they couldn't have a women's Masters Olympia because most of them are over 40 anyway, or a lot of the best ones. It's, what it is? It's I've talked to a lot of them, and a lot of them don't get into bodybuilding and training until they're older. A lot of them don't get into it until they're in their 30s, whereas these guys, they're like 12 years old lifting weights in their backyard and stuff,
I find a lot of those women that do that were previously like overweight or anorexic, and then they take, because obviously the female bodybuilding class is the most extreme for women in terms of what they need to do and how they have to train and how they have to look. So I think a lot of them, in their 20s and 30s, they go through divorces. I've seen that many times. I've heard the stories. I've spoke to them, and they say, "Oh yeah, I was anorexic, I was bulimic, or I was overweight, and then in my 30s I decided, and I got trashed on by my 18th guy or whatever, and then all of a sudden they just decide to sort of just throw everything into female bodybuilding, and then they become incredible, But I think it's quite an extreme. It's the most extreme category for women.
Yeah, that's, you've had Andrea Shaw on. We were talking just last week, Andrea Shaw, 3-time Ms. Olympia champion, about, how do you get women interested in female bodybuilding when they have 5 other categories to choose from?
Sure.
And some of them like bikini, no offense, Lauren Lauder, but I could take a lot of women at my gym who've never competed, not really interested in competing. They just train hard and they're beautiful women. I could put them on a bikini stage like in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I can get some of them. I could probably turn pro within a year and get them on a pro stage. Whereas female bodybuilding, it's a lot more muscle. It's just like men's open bodybuilding. It takes years. Nobody looks like an Andrea Shaw in like 6 months. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Yeah, let's move on to our final topic, because this is something that's been a very curious question. What's happening with Athleticon? Are we ever going to see Athleticon? So this is Dwayne Johnson's mega event that was going to be similar in scope to the Arnold Sports Festival. It was going to be all the bodybuilding events and categories, plus a bunch of other sports, huge expo. We were supposed to see this in 2020, which obviously the world went crazy with COVID. Nothing happened that was supposed to happen in 2020. 2021 comes and goes. 2022 comes and goes. So I haven't heard a peep about Athleticon. He's busy making, Marvel movies, Dwayne Johnson, everything. Not
DC, get it right.
Is it DC?
See? But there was a video because he posted about wishing Stan Lee a happy birthday, even though he died 7 years ago. And he said, "Oh, is this him trying to make a move over to the Marvel universe and all that?" But with Athleticon, I remember in 2019. I won't tell you who told me this. But what they were going to do, they were going to take a representative from each division, pay them a salary, someone that was obviously very, very good at marketing or, like self-promotion, or really out there doing with media and stuff like that. That was kind of part of why they were going to choose them. They were going to pay them a salary, and basically they were going to be like a representative for each division. They wanted one. So they were going to pick an athlete from each one, pay them like literally a contract, a salary, and they've said, right, you've got to promote that division to help us promote the division that we're going to promote and put on in Athleticon. Then obviously, like I said, 2020 and everything went to shit.
Yeah.
So that was penning. That was really sort of, positioning itself as like a real rival to the Arnold Classic, because it wasn't like the Arnold and the Olympia are very different. Like I spoke to Dan and he said, look, we're all friends. We speak with each other, the promoters and stuff. We're not sort of like, we're not rivals. We're sort of colleagues, what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh yeah.
Allies, allies. We sort of, we communicate, so we're not in competition with each other. But Athleticon was really positioning itself as a real kind of like, because don't forget the expo is the big money maker.
Sure.
That's the thing that pulls the people. So really, they were competition for the Arnold Classic. So I don't know what's happening, because I know in the last couple of years, Dwayne Johnson and Danny Garcia, they bought that XFL, is it? The football league?
They did?
Boy. Yeah, they bought the football league. Yeah, they bought it's not the NFL, it wasn't that big, but it's another one. So obviously they've got that. So I think maybe they just turn their attentions to that. But the thing is, like I said, because Robin Chang was put as they hired him as basically to kind of help organize it and coordinate it with the pro league. But I remember hearing they had huge plans for this event. I mean, it wasn't going to be small. It was going to be literally the size of the Arnold Classic the first year. Okay. And they, like I said, The Rock would not want to do anything small. So what do you think is going to happen now, especially now? Because things are starting to change now that Lorimer's have left the Arnold Classic. I mean, there's the symptom of this issue with the small lineups and that is, I think, and obviously Arnold is he's getting older now. Is he really going to want to go on and keep expanding and keep doing other events around the world? And So what really does this mean for the Arnold Classic and Athleticon now moving forward? What's your take?
I'd like to know from someone who's affiliated with Athleticon what their intentions are, if they do mean to get this thing going, or if it's just been dropped, because I have not heard a peep. But I would love to see them, just because it's only going to be good for the sport to have more major events. And I'd like to see them put it in a different time of year, so that it gives us maybe the summertime, because we already have these things in the fall and the winter. Why not have something really big in the summer? You can have a lot of outdoor events. It could be really cool. It could be, Dwayne Johnson. He's got all the connections and access to all the funding that he could possibly need, I'm sure, to make this thing spectacular. I'm curious in the comments if anyone below has any inside information as to the status of Athleticon. Is it happening? Is it being planned? Because we've been waiting, and 2019 was almost 4 years ago. I mean, when's it going to happen? Because like I said, I don't see, the Arnold is it had a rough time this year, and I believe the timing of it with the Olympia hurt it a lot. I'd like to, in a perfect world, I'd love to see the Olympia go back to October, the way it was for many, many years, for decades and decades. Arnold Classic, beginning of March, and then you could have Athleticon, maybe July or August or something. And then we'd have it spaced out so well throughout 3 major mega events throughout the year for the athletes and the fans.
Wasn't it supposed to be in Atlanta?
Yes.
Georgia. Yeah, it was. I didn't imagine that. Yeah, it was Atlanta, Georgia. So they would have had, big talks with venues and stuff like that. And I'm sure if they said, okay, we've canned the idea now, we've moved on to other projects, and Dwayne Johnson's booked with films and all that, whatever, because obviously a lot can change, with those kinds of companies with that many people. But it'd be interesting to see. I wonder what their feelings are. Interesting. Yeah, because I'd love to see it happen.
Somebody watching this must know something. Leave it in the comments, guys. And if it's just a rumor, please let us know. I heard this or that. But if you know something solid, because I'm all ears, I really want to know what's going on with Athleticon.
Yep.
It's only going to be good for all of us if it gets off the ground and becomes a huge success.
I also heard, on another note, I've also heard that the Arnold Classic are looking to put an Arnold UK by themselves, because they teamed up with that guy and it was a complete mess.
Yes.
It was a complete mess. I mean, I know a lot of stuff that, because Arnold got a lot of shit for that and he didn't deserve that.
Right.
Because Arnold paid Ronnie's fee, he paid Jay's fee to make sure that they still turned up out of his own pocket, and everyone just targeted, because he didn't turn up, they targeted all at Arnold, and that was wrong. Because that guy, I was speaking to someone who's organizing a different expo this year in the UK. He came up to me in the gym and he just said, "Are you Giles?" He said, "You done and whatever." And we started chatting for about an hour, and he's one of the sales team, and he was telling me about like the mess and all the meet and greet, and they were getting money up front, and there's people who haven't had refunds from 2021 who paid like $1,000, whatever, X amount of money to have a photo with Arnold, and they never got refunded. So it was a real mess. So it really has hurt the Arnold Classic brand in the UK, unless they can completely distance themselves from that. But apparently they are heard that they might be looking to put one on themselves as the Arnold America team. They're going to come over and not collaborate with anybody else. So that'd be really, really cool, because like I said, it was building, even it was a bit of a shit show in terms of what was going on behind the scenes, and a lot of complaints and, people getting ripped off. It was a good event to have, it picked up nicely where Body Power left off, and it would be nice to have an Arnold UK.
Let me ask you this. The venues and the cities so well. Where would you like to see the Arnold UK?
Oh, the NEC is incredible.
Okay. So Birmingham.
Right smack bang in the center of the country in Birmingham. There's an airport right by it. So this event he was telling me about is the one at the Excel, which is where they had the 2011 British Grand Prix, which was nice, very expensive, but it was a beautiful venue, and there's a city airport not far. There's a lot of venues around the UK actually that could take this. I've been to, with all the different federations, and over the years, I've been to some great venues in every city all around the UK, even Scotland, Wales, everywhere.
Wembley Stadium. What about that one?
Well, Wembley Conference Centre is where they used to have the British finals.
Okay.
And that's where they had, I remember because I saw Ernie Taylor win the pros in 1995. I was there for GQ magazine.
What?
Yeah, that was my first. I got my press pass for GQ magazine. I was a consultant for an article. Mary Ann Fitzgerald, and I kind of overshared a little bit, and she completely tore bodybuilding apart.
Oof.
So I thought it was really like a positive story on bodybuilding, and she I got completely bamboozled, and I stayed at a house and everything. But I was only 19.
Yeah, and you should know that if it's not a bodybuilding related publication, it's probably not going to be a positive story.
Yeah, they just slaughtered it. I was so upset when I read it, and I was trying to get her to interview Linda Murray at the British Grand Prix and everything, and she wanted access to her and everything. Because she was guest posing. But it's right. Yeah, I really learned my lesson on that one. But mainstream media are there to sort of make it look good, you know. But also the Wembley Conference Centre was where they had the British Grand Prix in 2003 when Jay Cutler won, and 2004 when Ronnie won, and it was a fantastic venue.
Okay, so there you go, Arnold promoters. I hope you listen to what Giles said there. He's your man. You know, I'm sure Giles, if they contacted you for to become like an advisory role or something, you probably would be able to help them out. Yeah,
I'm open to offers.
Okay, so there you go, guys. If you guys are watching, hit them up. So I think that's all our topics. Is there anything else you want to cover this week?
Not really. Training's going well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm putting the size back on, and I'm over that self-conscious enough of my heart rate going up and all that, and I feel like I'm really enjoying my training again now, because I still didn't feel good on those pictures at Olympia. If you notice, I didn't really have many pictures of many people because I felt very self-conscious. So I want to get beefy for this year, mate. I need to forget about the year of the tiger last year, and I need to own this one. So, but it's going well. And like I said, the gym I've trained at, where I took Samson in March, he loved it. They've got new ownership, and every single day I go in, there's new equipment and legend in Queensbury. The gym has gone from good to really good. So I'm excited.
And you said it's only like a 5-minute drive from Tiger Towers?
4.3 minutes.
Wow, that is awesome.
I could walk it in probably 20, you know, so I don't walk.
In better weather, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll wrap it up then. This has been episode 3 of the MD Power Hour. If you guys have things you'd want us to talk about in future editions of this, please leave them in the comments below. Or if you just want to tell us how great we are or how much we suck, put it in the comments. We love all the feedback. That's what we're here. It's good for the algebra rhythm. So it's one of the YouTube things. I'm learning all about YouTube. So yeah, please. And of course, subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, hit that thumb thing where you can give it a like, share the video. And of course, turn your notifications on. It's that bell thing. Because if you don't know when we have awesome content like MD Global Muscle, the Ron Line Report, Brazilian Beat, Buff Bombshell, MD Muscle Talk. Geez, No Way Jose, Fact Attack. Goodness gracious. We got a lot of shows, guys. So you want to know when we have good content. Even Ask Ron Live. Sometimes we have a lot of fun with those.
I hope you never lose your voice, Ron.
I lost at the Olympia, you remember, because I was sick, but
he's great.
I would be.
The sign language.
Yeah, that'd be rough. So anyway, Giles, thank you for another awesome episode. Always good talking. I'm very glad that we started this. It's been a lot of fun already. So that's it. Guys, thanks for watching MD Power Hour with Sir Giles Tiger Thomas III and Ron Harris. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.